Hi and welcome back to my channel. I am Caspian and I read quite a lot actually, more than I thought I were or was. So this is a reading update. I was gonna do this update for my next sun weight video, but I'm going back to the library tomorrow, so I wanted to do this before giving back the before returning the books to the library. So since you last saw me, I have read 2 books and DNF'd one, or I have finished 2 books and DNF'd one. So I'm gonna start with the ones I have read. And this one, Starling House by Alix E Harrow. So this one I actually started quite a while back, like early November, and then I paused it for a while because it had similarities to Beautiful Creatures, and I was buddy reading Beautiful Creatures. I wanted to focus on that, so I paused this early in because the similarities between them were like uh, kind of a haunted house situation, not well, a magical, weird house situation, and the dreams and the magical setting was like very similar, so um I had a difficult time separating the two when I read them at the same time. And even yesterday I sat with my reading journal yesterday to do the updates for these books before returning them to the library, and I had a hard time separating them from each other and remembering which ancestors were which or whatever. So yeah, it was a good call to pause it. So when I paused this, I was actually quite fond of it because I liked the magical setting, I liked the world building and that sort of thing, and I really and looking back at that part of it, I really enjoyed that part. So I was motivated to pick it up again when I had finished Beautiful Creatures. However, when I focused solely on this one afterwards, I didn't like it as much. So, um, well, it's just so much. It's not really that many. Well, it is quite a lot of. Well, it's about 300 pages, like 306 or 304 pages, something like that. And it's just so heavy with information, and it's like every aspect of the book is like crammed into 300 pages. It feels like the world building, the character development, the story, the conversations, the history, everything needed to make this book is like crammed into it. So I think I would have preferred if this book was like twice as long. Maybe that would have helped. So one of the because that and that's one of the reasons I'm just giving it 3 stars. 3 stars. Because it was just so intense in not a good way. So, like not intense in like adrenaline encouraging and you're sitting there like, oh my god, but intense in like there was so many things happening and I had to pause a lot to really understand. And that was in conflict with my love for the writing style, because I had a lot of tabs in this one when I was finished because there was a lot of just one-liners that I really enjoyed. Like I loved the description of things, like the description of the scenery, or or the feelings, or like one person describing another person. I really enjoyed the descriptive moments and the one-liners or two-liners of just, it was just pure prose. It was just pure poetry at some points, but it didn't really fit with the plot of the story because it just made it so, I loved the different parts individually, most of it, but together it just was so, it was like a ball of yarn that's like 10 different colors, and you can't find any of, you don't really know how it all goes together. Still, when I'm thinking about it, I know what it was about. I got to know the characters. I can remember the storyline. But when I think about it, it's just so heavy. Like really, yeah, it's like a 700-page book crammed into 300 pages. That's my experience of this. Remember that English isn't my first language, so when it comes to like word building, not world, but word, like with sentences and that sort of thing. Sometimes I'm a slower reader in English than I'm in my native language of Swedish, and that's also a thing. I usually get into a book quite quickly and adapt to the the writing style, and most of the words just fall into place. And this was like a situation of I can't really dedicate my mind to the beautiful language because there's so much happening. And in the beginning of the book, when I was actually enjoying it a little bit, I was thinking I wanted my own copy so that I could go back and just highlight all the words and look them up and just fall in love with the book and just annotate the heck out of it. But the more I read, I just felt like, no, this isn't worth reading again. I wanted like the last like 100 pages or maybe 80 pages. I was just, or maybe 120 pages. I was just powering through because I wanted to know the end. I really enjoyed the storyline of this. So I wanted to know where it was going. I wanted to know how everybody fared in the end. And I wanted to complete the story with the characters that I had come to. I did feel for and with the characters, which is something that is needed for me to enjoy a book. So I did enjoy the book in a lot of aspects. I don't want to read it again, and I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, now I know the story. I can put it down. Bye bye. And there was just too many downsides for me to give it a higher rating than 3, unfortunately. Uh, Sometimes I say to myself, maybe I will feel different in the future when I reread this, but I'm sure I won't reread this. I will try Alix Harrow again. I will, if I find something by them, I will try it again. Try them again. But uh, because I want to see if it's like just this book, or if it's the writing style of the author to just cram things in. Maybe you didn't experience it in the way I did. Uh, and as I said, it could have to do with English being my second language. It can have to do with a lot of things. But it was like I wanted to pick it up when I had put it down because I wanted to know how it continued. But every time I did so, it was with a, okay, let's brace myself for the next 50, 80 pages. And yeah, and so I didn't finish it in the time span that I thought I would, because I read it way slower than other books in English. But the last like 50 pages went faster than I thought because I had let go of trying to absorb everything. It was like my mind had finally given up and just okay, let's focus on the story. Let's focus on where this is going. Let's just try not to uh, keep up with everything else because the I did really enjoy the description of everything, including the beasts and everything magical in this, but I just didn't have the capacity to keep all the balls in the air, you know? So yeah, that's my verdict. So it's mainly now I'm gonna come to the actual plot. And I'm gonna try not to spoil too much. So it's about Opal. Opal is a caregiver to her younger brother Jasper. They live in a motel after their mother died, and she died like 11 years ago. Opal is now 26, and when she was 15, apparently she forged some papers or whatever to become the legal guardian of her younger brother, and he's 10 years younger than her. There's a lot of inconsistencies in this, or like not probable situations, like with memories from their childhood, because Jasper was so young when their mom passed that there are some things that she says that they did together that I couldn't really see such a young boy doing. But their mom was quite eccentric, so who knows? But there was a few times where I was like, that's not, if there's 10 years between them, that's not probable. So there was like one or two or a handful of times where I was like, mm. So in the town of Great, no, let's not confuse this with another book now. In the town of Eden, it's called Eden. Okay. Yeah. In the town of Eden, there's like this big power plant, and the company is owned by people called the Graveleys, and they have been like this. They have been in control of the town, you can say, for decades, if not more. And so that's like the one side of the story of this power plant and the family that runs the power plant and their control over the town. And then the other side is the Starling house where Arthur lives, and Arthur is a warden of the house, and the you can call the house enchanted or something, but the house is has a life of its own. It's the warden is connected to the house in a way through a blood oath of being the warden, so that the warden is allowed to feel and sense all of the property. So as a warden, you can sense if someone is entering your property or walking on the land or even knocking on the door. You can sense it before you hear it, and your job is to be the warden of the house, and you are being taken care of by the house, and you know, you keep the house happy or not. And a part of the job of the warden is to keep the beasts at bay. So underneath the house is kind of a portal to something called the Underland, and uh, there are beasts just coming up more often now than before. So the story goes like that. It's like it's happening more often. So Arthur has a lot to do, and so while he's living his life in this Starling house, doing all of this Opal is dreaming about the house, and feels like the house is calling on her in some way, and she meets Arthur by the gates, and she gets tangled up in that. She starts to become the housekeeper of the house, and she gets to know Arthur a bit more. She gets to know the house, And then she has Jasper to take care of. Also, he's going to school. He's 16 years old. He's going to school, and they have a dynamic where Opal loves him and does what she can for him, but she really should be more honest with him, because she does things that she's like, I'm doing this for him. This is the best for him. I want the best for him. And but she's not communicating that to him. So all the way through the book, I'm sitting on like on an edge and being like, okay, so is she gonna tell him about the stuff that she's doing for him, or is this gonna blow up in her face? So there's a lot of like different little things, because at the same time there's people that wants to get on the Starling property and the Starling land with their own interests. So there's like a protagonist in no, it's an antagonist in a person called Elizabeth Bain that wants onto the property and trying to use Opal to get there. So there's a lot of things happening, guys. So if if I don't know what would have made me love the book more. If it took its time, I would have easily read, like, at least give it 500 pages instead of 300, to just do it a little, because yeah, to just slow it down a little bit. Just slow the F down a little bit. That would have made it. But if you love if English is your first language, or uh, you love Alix E Harrow from before, then you can absolutely love this one. If you love a plot-heavy story, it's just heavy on everything. So I don't know. So anyway, I'm gonna put this down now. Bye. And tomorrow it's going back to the library. Okay, so the next one is an Agatha Christie, and this I read it in Swedish. It's called Dolken from Tunis, but in English it's The Murder of Dr. Ackroyd, of Mr. Ackroyd, Roger Ackroyd, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. So I actually hadn't read any Agatha Christie before this. I had only watched the TV adaptations. I watched a lot of them with my dad when I was younger, and it's an Hercule Poirot. I don't know how to pronounce it. We say Hercule. What do I say? Hercule Poirot. But I know this is the Swedish pronunciation. Is like Hercule Poirot. I don't know. I don't wanna bullshit. So, um, this is it's supposed to only be like the fourth story about him, with him as a main character, but he's already retired and Hastings isn't in it, so I don't know. I'm gonna have to read more of these. I did enjoy it. I don't want to read it again because now I know it. Um, but I did enjoy it, and this is a more recent translation, so it's not the original translation, and so the language is upgraded a little bit. I think that's how they said. So yeah, it's a locked room mystery. Roger Ackroyd is being murdered, and Hercule Poirot is getting involved to find out who did it, and yeah. Uh, and I'm just burning to say who the killer was. So I, I didn't really guess it. I didn't guess it. And that's so funny, because when I watched the TV adaptations, I could almost always get it being beforehand. Like early on, both me and my dad were like, "Yep, that's the guy," and then we were right. But with a book, I didn't really have an idea. I think I got an idea like 2/3 in. So this is also like a 300-page book, I think. Yeah. And I think like 2/3 in, maybe more, I was like, oh, and then I got it. So it was really interesting. I did really enjoy this a lot. So I'm gonna read more Hercule Poirot stories, and I gave this a 4 star. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So that's going back. So I don't have a lot of things to say because I did really enjoy it. It was exactly how I anticipated it to be because I've seen the TV adaptations, and it was a little bit more complex. But in a murder mystery, you need to really bring everything from the book into the TV or movie adaptation, so nothing gets lost in the mystery, so that nothing feels like far-fetched or something. And I feel like the TV adaptation did that with this one, because everything I remember, it like came back to me. And yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot. And it was a book of its time without being too like bigoted or male chauvinistic, or like it was. Yeah, it was a good book, because usually when I read what I fear when I read older books, like 1927 the first one came out, the thing I fear is that the women would be treated poorly or looked down upon. And sure, it was a book of its time, but it really did a lot to uplift. And it wasn't a book that you weren't told that this is women's place or whatever. Women were honored in a way in this book, because their personal traits were elevated, and they were honored in a way that not a lot of modern books even do. So I really did enjoy this one. Yeah, I enjoyed this one. So the murder of Roger Ackroyd. I don't want to say doctor. I don't know. So those are the two books that I have finished since you last saw me. And then the first Sunweight, I unpacked this book, Ninni Shulman, The Girl with Snow in Her Hair. And I have read almost, I think I read like 34% or something like that, my app said. I'm at page 122, and it's like 350 pages. So about the third in, a bit more. And I'm DNFing it. And I'm sad to do it, but I just can't. There's the one aspect of this it's not for me. So so far it's been kind of what I expected from it when I unpacked it. It's a typical Scandinavian crime novel with so we have a girl that's gone missing on New Year's Eve. Uh, we have the typical two police people, a man and a woman, that has gotten the case on their table. And then at the same time, we have a journalist that has left the big city of Stockholm to live in this small town, get back to the small town, to her hometown after a divorce. And she's settling into the community and getting to reconnect with all of her childhood friends and that sort of thing. And she gets involved in this case with the missing girl. And so far so good. I actually enjoy this part. I enjoy the typical Scandinavian crime novel a lot. And it is a typical Scandinavian crime novel with like one or two police people getting involved in a case, and then like a journalist or a writer, an author, whatever, like an outside perspective person coming in and getting involved and helping, or well, they are actually helping a lot with the case often, but the police doesn't feel like that. So yeah, the aspect that makes me unable to continue is that there's a development in it that I just can't. And I don't know if it's trafficking yet, because I won't continue reading to find out if it's actually trafficking. But there's a situation with a lot of essay, and like really descriptive. And I was reading this in bed last night, and I came to a chapter with this and they were just going straight at it, and I was so appalled that I actually wanted to. I was sick to my stomach, and I just couldn't continue reading. And I was actually so sick to my stomach that I got a headache, and I just got like physical symptoms of. It was just horrible, and I got up for a while, tried to shake it off, got back to bed, and then I had this on my nightstand, and I was like, no, I have to move it. I can't know that it's there. And I had to go into the kitchen and place it on the table and just be like, no. And then I had to do something completely different and calm my mind with some meditation tracks. And I was like, what? And uh, yeah, no, I don't care for it. I have a candle to. I don't want it to burn down too much. So I just found that it's not for me. I can't keep reading with that aspect in it. So I don't know if it's trafficking, but it was essay, and it was just the typical situation when you read something about trafficking. There's this girl in this apartment, and there are two foreign speaking people coming in and out into the apartment. The girl is almost like she's stuck there. This particular girl wasn't chained or anything, but she was really she couldn't get out of there, and there were talk about other girls. She was wondering where her friend was, or like the other girl that used to be there, where she was. And they were saying, oh, don't worry about her, like her client wanted her longer. And but that's okay, we're gonna have more girls coming in tomorrow, so you're not gonna be alone for long. And then and so it was like you could sense and tell that this is a typical description of a trafficking situation. And ever since saw, when I was younger, we had a movie coming out called Lydia Forever. I think it's translated or maybe dubbed into English as well, with this Eastern European girl getting caught into trafficking, and that whole story about it. Her name was Lilia. And ever since I saw that, and because there was like an upheaval of those kind of cases being visible, I think it was the 90s. And ever since I saw that one, I was like 14 or something when I saw that. Um, uh, I can't. It's just too heavy, so that's why I'm DNFing this. So if you can stomach that kind of content and you like a typical Swedish or Scandinavian crime novel with all that entails, then please read it. I don't know if it's translated into English. The Swedish title is Flickan med snö i håret, which translates into The Girl with Snow in Her Hair, by Ninni Shulman. So if you can stomach that and you like this kind of book, then I think you would enjoy this, because I was enjoying it until this came up, and I was like, I can't keep reading and wondering if the next chapter is gonna be, or the next paragraph is gonna be essay. I can't. So yeah, and this is a perfect example of why I didn't want to to spend a lot of money on my blind date books with my like my calendar books, because this was always something that could happen, that I couldn't continue the book, or I didn't like the book or whatever. So now I'm gonna dive into something completely different, and you will find out on in my next Sunweight video, when I will update you guys. So have a lovely day, have a lovely week. I'll see you on Thursday. Tjingeling!